Smash that like button if you've ever been betrayed by family, and hit subscribe, because what happens next will restore your faith in divine justice. What you're about to hear will make your blood boil and then make you believe in miracles. A mother gets publicly humiliated at her son's wedding by her cruel daughter-in-law. But when someone in the crowd screamed out the truth, everything changed in ways no one could have predicted. Margaret Maggie O'Sullivan had raised her son Ryan as a single mother after her husband died in Iraq when Ryan was just 8 years old. For 22 years, she worked 3 jobs, sacrificed everything, and poured her heart into making sure Ryan had every opportunity in life. Now at 30, Ryan was marrying Brittany Coleman, a 28-year-old influencer from a wealthy Texas family. The wedding was set to be a $200,000 extravaganza at the Coleman family's ranch, and Maggie had spent her entire savings, $15,000, on a mother-of-the-groom dress and contributing to the wedding. But from day one, Brittany made it clear that Maggie wasn't welcome in their new life. "Listen, Margaret," Brittany had said during the rehearsal dinner, loud enough for others to hear. "I know you think you're still the most important woman in Ryan's life, but that's about to change. Tomorrow, you'll learn your place." Maggie felt her heart sink. "Brittany, I just want us to be family." "Family?" Brittany laughed coldly. "You're a waitress from the wrong side of town. We're not family. We're just unfortunately connected." Ryan said nothing. He just looked away. But Brittany had planned something for the wedding day that would destroy Maggie in front of 300 guests. Something so cruel it would break a mother's heart forever. The wedding day arrived. Maggie had spent months planning every detail of her appearance, wanting to look perfect for her son's big day. She wore a beautiful navy dress and the pearl necklace her late husband had given her, her most treasured possession. As she walked into the ceremony venue, Brittany's family members began whispering and pointing. Maggie could hear fragments. "That's the mother-in-law. Poor Ryan. How embarrassing." During the ceremony, when the minister asked if anyone objected, Brittany turned around and looked directly at Maggie with a smirk that sent chills down her spine. But the real humiliation came during the reception. When it was time for the mother-of-the-groom speech, Maggie stood up nervously. She had prepared heartfelt words about watching Ryan grow up, about being proud of the man he'd become. But before she could speak, Brittany grabbed the microphone. "Actually, everyone, I have something to say about Margaret first." Brittany's voice carried across the entire reception hall. "I think it's important that everyone knows the real story about Ryan's upbringing." What Brittany said next was so shocking, so designed to destroy Maggie, that guests began gasping in horror. You see, Margaret here has been telling everyone that she's this amazing single mother who sacrificed everything for Ryan. But what she doesn't tell you is the truth about why her husband really died. The entire reception fell silent. Maggie's face went white. Ryan's father didn't die as a hero in Iraq like she claims. He died because he was running away from his family. He volunteered for the most dangerous missions because he couldn't stand being married to Margaret anymore. She drove him to his death. Gasps echoed throughout the venue. Maggie felt the world spinning around her. "And that's not all," Brittany continued, her voice dripping with venom. "This woman has been manipulating Ryan his entire life, making him feel guilty, making him think he owes her everything. Well, Ryan is my husband now, and I'm setting him free from 22 years of emotional manipulation." Maggie tried to speak, but no words came out. Tears streamed down her face as 300 people stared at her in shock and judgment. Ryan sat frozen, saying absolutely nothing to defend his mother. But then something happened that no one, especially Brittany, saw coming. A woman in the back of the crowd suddenly stood up and screamed, "Stop! Every word you just said is a lie!" All eyes turned to see an elegant woman in her 50s, with silver hair and piercing blue eyes, striding toward the front of the reception. "Who are you?" Brittany demanded, clearly rattled. "I'm Colonel Sarah Mitchell, United States Army, and I served with Staff Sergeant Michael O'Sullivan in Iraq." The woman's voice commanded the entire room. Not only is everything you just said completely false, but Michael O'Sullivan was one of the bravest men I ever served with. He died saving 12 soldiers from an IED explosion. He talked about his wife Margaret and son Ryan every single day. The reception was dead silent. But more importantly, Colonel Mitchell continued, her eyes blazing, "I know exactly who you are, Brittany Coleman, and I think this crowd deserves to hear your real story." What Colonel Mitchell revealed next about Brittany's past would turn the entire wedding upside down and expose secrets that would destroy the Coleman family forever. Drop a comment about what you think Brittany's secret is, and don't click away, because the revelation coming next will blow your mind. Colonel Mitchell pulled out her phone and connected it to the reception sound system. "Brittany, should I tell them about the 3 other weddings you've had? Or should we start with the fact that you're already married to someone else?" The blood drained from Brittany's face. That's impossible. You're lying." "Am I?" Colonel Mitchell pressed a button and audio began playing through the speakers. "Hi, this is Brittany. Yeah, the wedding is tomorrow. Don't worry, baby. This is just for the money. Ryan's family has more money than they're letting on. I'll divorce him in 6 months and take half of everything. Then we can be together for real." The voice was unmistakably Brittany's. Ryan jumped up from his chair. "What the hell is this?" Colonel Mitchell continued. "This recording was made 3 days ago. Brittany has been planning to scam your family from the beginning. But here's the really shocking part. She's been married to a man named Derek Phillips in Nevada for 2 years. This entire wedding is illegal." Chaos erupted in the reception hall. The Coleman family was screaming, guests were pulling out their phones, and Brittany was trying to run for the exit. But then an elderly man in the corner stood up and shouted, "There's more! I've been waiting 20 years to tell this story." Who was this mysterious man, and what 20-year-old secret was about to come to light? The elderly man, who appeared to be in his 70s with kind eyes and a weathered face, walked slowly to the front. "My name is Harold Coleman. I'm Brittany's grandfather." "Grandpa Harold," Brittany's mother gasped. "We haven't seen you in years." "That's because this family has been living a lie for decades," Harold said, his voice shaking with emotion. "And I can't watch an innocent woman like Margaret be destroyed by our family's sins." He turned to face the crowd. 23 years ago, Margaret O'Sullivan was supposed to marry into our family. She was engaged to my grandson, Brittany's older brother, James Coleman. Maggie's eyes went wide. She had never told anyone about her first engagement, broken just months before she met Michael. "James broke off the engagement," Harold continued, "because his mother, Brittany's grandmother, convinced him that Margaret wasn't good enough for the Coleman name. They humiliated her, destroyed her reputation in our town, and drove her away." The reception was in complete shock. Margaret was 3 months pregnant with James's child when they cast her out. She lost that baby from the stress and heartbreak. She nearly died herself. Tears were streaming down Harold's face. "When I heard that my great-granddaughter was marrying Ryan O'Sullivan, I knew it had to be Margaret's son. I've spent months investigating, and I was right. Ryan, you're not just married to a scammer. You're the son of the woman our family destroyed 23 years ago." Adieu. But the biggest revelation of all was still coming. Harold reached into his jacket and pulled out a DNA test. "I had this done secretly. Ryan, you share DNA with the Coleman family. James Coleman was your biological father, not Michael O'Sullivan." The entire reception erupted. Ryan collapsed into his chair, Maggie was hyperventilating, and Brittany was screaming that everyone was lying. "Michael O'Sullivan adopted Ryan when he was 2 years old," Harold explained. "He married Margaret, knowing she'd been hurt by our family, and he loved that boy as his own. The man who died in Iraq protecting 12 soldiers was protecting a child that wasn't even his blood, because that's the kind of man he was." Colonel Mitchell stepped forward again. "Which means, Ryan, that your wife just tried to destroy the reputation of the man who saved you from growing up without a father, the man who chose to love you when your biological family threw you away." In that moment, something beautiful and terrible happened. Ryan, tears streaming down his face, walked over to his mother and fell to his knees. "Mum, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Will you forgive me?" Maggie, sobbing, pulled her son into her arms. "Of course, baby, of course." But the most amazing part of this story was still to come. As the chaos died down and Brittany was escorted away by security, along with her real husband Derek, who had been caught trying to steal wedding gifts, Harold Coleman approached Maggie. "Margaret, I've spent 23 years feeling guilty about what my family did to you. I've been secretly following your life, watching you raise Ryan into an incredible young man, watching you sacrifice everything for him." He pulled out an envelope. "This is a trust fund that I set up for you 20 years ago. It's worth $2.8 million. It's the inheritance that should have been yours when you married into our family." Maggie stared at the envelope in shock. I can't accept this." "You can and you will," Harold said firmly. "But there's a condition. I want you to use this money to start a foundation helping single mothers who've been abandoned by their children's fathers. I want you to turn your pain into purpose." Colonel Mitchell stepped forward one more time. "And I have a confession too, Margaret. I didn't just serve with Michael by coincidence. He asked me to watch over you and Ryan if anything ever happened to him. I've been following your story for years, waiting for the right moment to help. Today was that moment." As the sun set over the Texas ranch, a mother who had been humiliated was now surrounded by people who truly loved her. The wedding that was supposed to destroy her had instead exposed the truth and restored her dignity. 6 months later, Margaret O'Sullivan opened the Michael's Heroes Foundation, which has helped over 500 single mothers and their children. Ryan, who annulled his marriage to Brittany, works full-time for the foundation and has never been closer to his mother. Brittany was arrested for bigamy and fraud. She's currently serving 18 months in prison. Harold Coleman moved in with Margaret and Ryan, finally having the family relationship he'd dreamed of for decades. "It took 23 years, he tells everyone. But justice has a way of making things right." Colonel Mitchell became Margaret's closest friend and the foundation's head of security, making sure no one ever tries to hurt Margaret again. The Texas ranch where the wedding took place, the Coleman family sold it and donated the proceeds to Margaret's foundation. And every year, on the anniversary of that disastrous wedding day, Margaret, Ryan, Harold, and Colonel Mitchell have dinner together. They call it Truth Day, the day when lies were exposed and real family was found. Ryan keeps a photo on his desk of him hugging his mother at that wedding reception, both of them crying. The caption reads, "The day I almost lost the only parent who ever truly loved me, and the day I learned what real family means." He defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow, and loves the foreigner residing among you, giving them food and clothing. Deuteronomy 10:18. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? Have you ever had to stand up for what's right when everyone else stayed silent? Share your story in the comments below. Your courage might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Don't forget to subscribe, because every week we share stories that prove good always triumphs over evil, and love always wins in the end. Your story could be next.